Hey guys, this is Ike's with Rollout Reviews, bringing you a very quick review here. This is the Jazwares 2013 Minecraft figures, Series 1. Now, I wasn't going to get these. I'd seen them online for prices that I really didn't want to pay so much, but I actually walked into Target the other day and saw these on the pegs. Not only were they in the store, but they were for less than I think even the Jazwares site says they were. On the website, they retail for about $11.99, and I found each one of these for $9.99. So they are out there, and they're cheaper than they say they are. So on that merit alone, I decided to pick them up. And, you know, they're not bad figures. In the past, Jazwares has produced some pretty iffy products. From what I've seen of their figures in the past, especially their Sonic line, the quality has just been awful. But these are not bad, and we'll get into more detail when we take a look at them individually. First of all, I just want to look at the packaging. I think that this line, if you're just a casual player of the game and not so much a toy collector or somebody who plays with toys, these would be cool to keep in the box without opening them and maybe pin them to the wall. Here is the packaging, and it's actually fairly nice looking. Series 1 up there. The bubble itself has kind of a nice detail on it. It says Minecraft down there, the Mojang logo, and the Jazwares logo there. On the back, this is especially cool. It shows all the other figures in the line, collect them all, but it has an in-game picture here of the character you're getting, and kind of has a bio card, which is sort of cool. Steve's name officially, I guess, is Steve with a question mark. These are officially licensed figures, by the way, and you can see kind of a little bio there. I'll let you pause that if you would like to read it. But you got Steve, you have the Creeper, you have the Zombie, and the Enderman. Now, it's not very collector-friendly packaging. It is on a card, and you do have to rip it off here. But if you want to keep these in the packaging, I think that would be pretty cool because alone, these figures don't actually do a whole lot. They just look kind of cool. Anyway, let's take a look at each of them individually. Now, each of these figures comes with three things: the figure itself, a non-block item, and a block from the game. Steve here comes with a coal block, and really, it's just that, a block. It does nothing else. I suppose the printing is alright, it gets the job done. It does look like a coal block, and it looks kind of cool sitting on your desk, but it does nothing else. Then just sit there. You can't open it up and put anything inside it, and next to the figures, it's very big. I would have wished it was smaller so that it actually looked like it did in the game compared to the characters, but this is kind of ridiculous. If nothing else, I guess it serves as kind of an okay display piece, but overall it's sort of mediocre. The figure itself, like I said, has some really blotchy and iffy paint detail on it, much like those Sonic figures that I mentioned before. But I think these pull it off just a bit better because of the simple nature of them. They're just blocks, and so there's not a whole lot of molding detail you can get wrong. And similarly, all of the paint details are in 8-bit, so not a whole lot is done too terribly here. A lot of the paint is just a bit blotchy. They're a very toy-like quality, and not really a collector's status piece, but I'm assuming that the people who play Minecraft aren't going to be too particular about that. I'm sure that a whole lot of them aren't avid toy collectors. Something to keep note about is the corners of each of these. The paint is especially a little finicky there. It's worth noting that the head and the arms are in the skin tone color and not the shirt color or the hair color, so that is all paint and can potentially rub off. Articulation on this, the head rotates, the arms, they go forward and back, however they do end up colliding, and like I said, this corner here on his arm can potentially get scuffed up because of that. To counter that, the head does move up just a little bit. You can actually pull this off completely, so if you want to have a little bit of fun, you can mix and match the pieces on these guys, but yeah, it does move up, so you can get that out of the way. The waist rotates here and similarly pops off, and the legs go forward and back. They are on ball joints, so to a degree they do move out, but the packaging says that these are fully articulated, and that is not quite true. They don't have an up and down joint in their head, their arms don't go in and out at all, and the legs don't go out nearly as much as they do in the game, so that's a little bit of false advertising there. Now, Steve and the zombie have little cutouts in their hands so they can hold items. This isn't accurate to the game, but it's just a measure they had to take for the functionality. He comes with an iron pickaxe here, and I suppose it's alright. Similarly, it has some kind of splotchy details, but the grooves here just fit into his hand. Simple enough, and I guess I can't complain with the results. It does end up looking pretty cool. His articulation is very similar to that of a Lego figure, so pretty much that is the extent of dynamics in his posability. You can get something that kind of looks like this, pretty accurate to what you're going to see in the game, but nothing too exceptional. That's one thing I really like about these figures, is that they do really look like the source material. The proportions are really nice, and the matte finish on them makes them have a very game-like quality. They do look really cool. For a comparison, here he is next to a Lego figure. So he's fairly tiny, but not too small. It's a really good desk figure size, something to just mess with or put on your desk at work, something like that. Very cool. Let's move on. Next up is the zombie. He comes with an iron sword and an iron block. We'll take a look at the block here first really quick. It's more or less exactly the same as the coal block. The printing is just a different color, and the block is just a little bit of a darker shade. But overall, it's exactly the same, so not much to talk about there. The zombie itself, similarly, is pretty much exactly the same as Steve, but that is game accurate. The zombie is the same model as Steve. I do think that this is just a little bit worse as a figure just because of the nature of the zombie in the game. In the game, he always has his arms out forward like this, and that ends up causing some balance issues. Minecraft as a game doesn't really need to worry a whole lot about physics, so that's not a problem. But here on your desk, just bump the desk a bit and he goes falling over. The articulation is exactly the same, and the paint is similarly so-so. It's really hit and miss with these. The zombie isn't actually too bad here, except on the feet where there are some scratches. I find that the joints are just a little bit more loose on this guy, which is nice. It's less scary. Things don't run into each other as violently, I guess. His legs also do have just a bit more movement than Steve's, so again, that must be a quality control thing as well. Overall, he's so-so. This might not be something necessary to have if you already have Steve, but to complete the set, I suppose, it is worth it alone. He does come with an iron sword here. He can hold it, and zombies do occasionally hold weapons in the game, but I see this kind of as a progression. In the game, you know, you'll see a zombie, you'll want to go mining for iron, so you can make a sword and use it to kill the zombie. Steve can hold this as well, and I think it works a lot better in his hands. Again, the block is super big and doesn't look good next to any of them, but this is a nice parallel. Next up is the Enderman. He comes with a dirt block and a mushroom. Now, the dirt block makes sense. From time to time, and very often, Endermen carry around dirt blocks as kind of a little thing they do. I don't know. But the mushroom doesn't make a whole lot of sense. I think they do occasionally carry these around. I think this is one of the items that they can pick up, but not very often, and it just seems a little bit out of place. It would have been a whole lot more appropriate if he came with an Ender Pearl or an Eye of Ender, but this just seems a little strange. As is, I'm probably going to throw this off to the side and put it in a baggie somewhere. Oh well. The dirt block is pretty nice. It's a very different block from the past two mineral blocks we've seen, and it's a very iconic block from the game, so it's worth having. The problem is, it still remains much bigger than it is in the game. And while with the other figures, that's not too much of a problem. They're probably just going to stand on them, or you're probably just going to put them off to the side. But for the Enderman, he carries these blocks around. The figure here has these little divots where he can hold a block. These aren't accurate to the game, but they still have the spaces here, so if you wanted them to hold a block, you could have them hold a block. The problem with this guy is that the block he comes with is way too big. You actually can get his arms around this. They are on ball joints, very limited ball joints, but they offer enough give to kind of wrap his arms around it. But it just looks really comical and kind of weird. I mean, this might be something you're into, but it's not accurate to the game at all. It does look kind of cute, though, with his giant dirt block. Oh well. Articulation-wise, it's a little bit less than the zombie and Steve. The head still rotates and still does pull up to allow room for the arms. They go forward and back, and the legs go forward and back as well. They are also on ball joints, but he has no waist movement at all. It is just a neutral Enderman, not the hostile version. Maybe they'll release a hostile version in the future, but as is, he's very, very simple. The Enderman is one of my favorite mobs in the games, so I can't complain too much. In fact, I might be just a little bit biased, but I really do like this guy. He does actually have quite a bit of detail on him for just being black. He's got some black details on the black plastic, so that's pretty nice. But overall, he is super, super simple. And last but definitely not least is the most iconic mob from the game, the Creeper. Now, Jazwares is fully prepared for this to be their most popular figure, and rightfully so. When I walked into the store, I saw one of each of the other figures in the line, and at least 3 creepers on the peg. So you're not going to have too much of a problem finding this guy, and that's probably a good thing, because who doesn't want a little creeper on their desk? He comes with a bit of gunpowder and a TNT block. Now, the gunpowder has a similar problem to the mushroom, where it just doesn't do a whole lot. Kind of sits there. Pretty useless. This is probably going in a bag somewhere. However, the TNT block is actually pretty nice. It's very vibrant compared to the other blocks, and the printing is decent. It's still very large, but it's a fun block to have, so not a whole lot of problems with that. The Creeper itself is probably the most solid of the 4 figures. It's very simple. The Creeper design is super simplistic, so there's not a whole lot that they can get wrong. It has some unfortunate product numbering there, but the head rotates and each of his legs are individually on hinges. Now, all of the other figures really don't live up to the claim that they're fully articulated, but the Creeper is, just because all of his joints in the game are super simple. These hinges are just a little bit loose, but they hold poses just fine, and so you can have your Creeper walking around Just like that. He pretty much does everything you'd want him to do, aside from, well, maybe explode. Now, with the other figures, I didn't have a choice. Those were the only ones they had, and I got them. With this one, I had some options because there were several creepers on the peg, and I saw that quite a few of them had just terrible paint applications. You want to watch out in the face. You want to make sure that his scowl isn't messed up, because that's a very iconic thing about the creeper. And you also want to watch out for his toes here. Some of the paint apps on those were just awful. But if you get a good one, he's definitely worth the price. So all in all, these figures aren't bad. I think the biggest draw of these figures is the fact that they're just the only thing of its kind out there. As far as Minecraft merchandise goes, you either get something third-party, you get something 3D printed, you get papercraft, or you get plushies. And these are the first legitimate Minecraft figures. The paint apps and the details are a little bit shabby, but all things considered, they're really nice figures, and they do almost everything you would want them to. They look great as little desk toys, and if it's your thing, they look excellent on the card. Now, there is another set out there. The Series 1 consists of these 4 smaller figures and a bigger kind of deluxe Steve set that has a wooden pickaxe, a wooden sword, a chest that opens, by the way, so you can store your little bits inside it, a crafting table, and a bed. Will I get that in the future? I haven't quite decided. I didn't find it in stores, so I'll have to look online for that. If you're a die-hard fan of the game, you're going to want all of them. But if you're just a casual player, I still think at least the Creeper and Steve are worth looking into. Overall, I'm really excited to see where this line goes. I'd love to see a set of animals. I'd love to see really every single mob in the game materialized at some point, if possible. Just exploring all of the different kinds of blocks that exist in the game. This line looks really promising, and I can't wait to see where it goes. So, that is about it, guys, and this is IXRolloutIX, signing off.